I'm Erin Kulcsar, and I'm a member of Team Hearcules at WPAA-TV. Tonight I'm honored to be speaking with Anatar Marmol-Gagné, performer and puppeteer. What first got you into art, and when did you realize it was something you wanted to pursue as a career?
I started with fine art, and I started drawing ever since I could hold a pencil, pretty much. And so that was something that I was doing and drawing and painting from very early on. And so I started taking classes, pursued that for a really long time, as well as it wasn't just painting and drawing, but it was also sculpture and music and dance. So all of that was kind of all together. So I was very, very involved in all of the arts. And it just felt natural. It was a calling. You know, I was 6, and people would say, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And be like, an artist, you know. That was just what I wanted to do.
And did you know you wanted to be a puppeteer straight out of art school, or did it take a while to kind of find that was what you wanted to do?
It took a while. I'd always loved puppets since I was a little kid, and I was very fortunate to be surrounded by puppeteers and other artists and exposed to that world, but it didn't really all come together till much later.
When we spoke earlier, you were talking about how different the puppeteer community is from a lot of other communities in the art industry. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
The puppetry community is just exceptional. It's a very, very giving, very kind, and what's the word I'm looking for? Generous. It's a very generous community, as opposed to the fine art community, which I felt wasn't as generous. So let's say, hey, I call a colleague, or just in the community in general, I need help with the show. Has anyone have experience in this kind of shadow puppetry or this kind of hand puppetry? And it's unanimous. People jump in. They're like, oh, I know. I have this pattern, or I work with this person.
That's
what do
so
you
nice.
need? Right?
Yeah.
It's very, very refreshing. Whereas I felt like, and I don't mean to say that everyone in the fine art community is like this, but it felt like the fine art community was more of like, this is mine, and you can't see what I'm working on.
No,
or,
I know what you're talking about,
So it just felt a lot colder and a lot more solitary than the puppetry community. It's very, very supportive. It's a very, very supportive community.
What goes through your head when you're performing, when you're on stage and there's a crowd in front of you? Like, what's going through your mind?
Besides, oh crap. It's so technical. So puppetry is so technical. I'm thinking, where is my hand going to be? Where is my body? What do I need to do? So I'm always thinking 3 steps ahead. So I don't have a lot of time to think on stage, except for what my movements are.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially with the shadow puppetry, where it's all based off of your hand movements and the placement of everything. It's just so precise.
And where all the shadow puppets are. So everything has to be, like, preset is so important in a puppet show. Like, everything has to be preset a certain way, so that you know that, like, once you've used a puppet and you're not going to use it again, where's the discard pile? Where does this go? If I'm going to use it again, where's it going to go? So it's not in my way, but it's easy to access, So all those things have to be...
It's a lot.
It's a lot. So that's why preset is just, like, it's crucial. So, I get really anxious. Really bad performance anxiety. So presetting the stage, apart from it, you just have to, with this kind of show, like, it also just kind of is calming, because I know once I hit the stage, I'm just going to get, really anxious. But then once you start and everything is kind of there, then I'm just thinking of, okay, what next?
And do you have other people, like, behind the scenes helping you, or is this just completely you by yourself?
Depends on the show. So I do have solo pieces that it's just me. I have solo pieces that require 3 to 4 performers. And then I have other full-length shows where I have collaborators who have helped devise the show and perform with me on stage. So it just depends on the show.
You're working on a really powerful piece for you, your story of coming to America. Would you like to kind of explore that a little bit?
Sure. This new piece is called Sueños, and it's my story of arriving here, not knowing the language. After my parents' divorce, my dad came to the States. My mom was back home in Venezuela, and when she got into a car accident when I was 7, my dad brought me here. And just the cab ride from the airport and seeing the Twin Towers was just...
Oh, like the city,
like,
too.
Oh, the city, yeah. We lived in Lower Manhattan, so we'd go roller skating by the Twin Towers, and like that was a very desolate area downtown in Tribeca back then.
Wow, that's crazy.
But I didn't return back home till 8 years later. So I didn't see my family, barely spoke to my mom. It was a really nasty divorce, and then custody battle, and it was
terrifying.
It was ridiculous. But I was illegal here. I didn't come with papers, so that was also like an added layer to that. So around the time that I arrived in 1985, it was the very first kid that ended up on the milk carton actually went to my school. There was like a lot of police like at PS3 at the time, and so not knowing the language, seeing the cops sometimes like are they for me? And so they would put me in the bathroom sometimes, so I would hide in the bathroom. And then the added layer to that is my mom during the custody battle would also come to the school trying to kidnap me to take me back home, so I would hide in the bathroom again for that. So it was just like, it was a crazy time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So trying to navigate that and my friends and the language, and then I finally learned English, and but then when my stepmom and my dad got a divorce, and I went back home to Venezuela. But at that point, he had made sure that I had forgotten my Spanish because I couldn't communicate with my family. So it was like back then I was like 16. I could understand it, but I couldn't really speak it. And then within a few months, I picked it up again because it was all in here. But it felt like I'm starting all over again,
Did you stay there for much longer after?
So I stayed there till I was 21, and then political turmoil, and then my mom was going through a divorce with her ex, which was really ugly at home, and I couldn't stay there anymore.
Did you come back here by yourself this time?
My stepmother, she's an angel. I got into Hunter for creative writing, and even though I was trying to stay in Venezuela, and I just couldn't. I just really couldn't. So once I got into Hunter College, I moved in with her, and I studied creative writing.
Oh, wow.
And I've been here since. And then I got my MFA at UConn in the puppet arts. I graduated in 2017.
Oh, wow. Oh, recently.
Yeah.
It has actually evolved a little bit over time, right?
Yes. So I started actually working on this show a long time ago. I started writing it kind of as a memoir, and I wasn't sure which way it was going. I just started like writing a lot, and then I decided to really work on it. And what the catapult for that was another personal piece that I had done, Calle Allende, which is a journal entry inspired by Frida Kahlo. And I started really diving into some personal things in that show, which was unexpected. And she talks about her infertility. And during the making of that show, I was also told I was infertile. So that kind of catapulted me into just really embracing this current show, because there was a lot of shame and guilt with the show, with family, and and then I realized it's not mine. All the stuff that happened it's not my guilt. It's not my because they were adults. And how I got here is a totally different story. So circumstances beyond my control. So that kind of brought me to this show, and then I went to the O'Neill. I was the emerging artist at the National Puppetry Conference, and that that was in 2019, and that kind of brought it on its feet. And I really started working into what am I really trying to say with the show. And I was the artist in residence at Art Space, and so then I was really just focused on Sueños. And I had the exhibit earlier this year. It was supposed to be in 2020, and then COVID. But and now I was really able to fine tune what the show was and what I was trying to figure out and say. And it was really of like, what is my home? What is my voice? What is the show?
Yeah, it sounds like it kind of kick-started the whole, like, okay, this is serious, like, I'm getting into it. Worry dolls incorporated a lot into this show you're working on. How are those coming into play?
So I used to have terrible night terrors and nightmares when I was a kid. I still do. Not as bad, but my dad gave me those to help. So the Guatemalan worry dolls are little dolls that you tell that you're worried to, and you put them under your pillow, and then you wake up and you're supposed to not have that worry anymore. So with all the stuff that was going on in my life, I talked to my worry dolls every night. And so they're a big part of the show because the protagonist in my show talks to the worry dolls, and they battle the nightmares in the shadow realm and shadow puppetry. So it's a big part of the show.
Do you have some of the ones that had the swords and
So,
weapons? I think those are so cool.
One of the things I really love to do with shadow puppetry is have the 2D puppets, but also have like 3D puppets. So these are the larger ones with the little swords that battle the little monsters, or they're really big monsters.
I love that. That's so cool.
They're just fun.
And this over here, is it called a shadow box? Shadow?
Yeah, it's a
screen.
It's a shadow screen. It is a shadow box. It is because I traveled so much and was moving around so much. I grabbed the trunk and just cut this out to be able to do a lot of the shadow puppetry in one of these.
Wow. So that you don't usually use a box like that to perform?
I use all sorts of stuff for shadow. So I use a trunk. There's also a big shadow screen that I use, a piece of fabric. I use that crinoline behind you. I also use as a shadow screen. The reason I use a crinoline is because my nonna, my grandmother, was a seamstress, and my stepmother's a designer. So I grew up with that, and they're both really important people in my life. So I wanted to use a crinoline. They also taught me how to sew and a lot of the things that I do with my hands. So.
And you sew all of the costumes that you make for your puppets too, which is really cool and really unique. So how long did it take you? You're telling me it took you quite a long time. How long would you say estimate on the two of these puppets to make?
I mean, between those two, easily 200 hours. Easily.
That's insane. Oh my gosh.
Just her face alone took me weeks to finish, and then not including the hair and then the costuming. And then, there's armature in the hands and then the bodies. It takes a long time to finish a puppet.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So many fine details.
You also have to make sure that one of the things, especially like hand, that they're, once you start putting the head and the hands together, that they're falling the right way, that they're, that you're able to get it to move the right way. And so there's some adjusting as well.
I'd like to talk a little bit about the pieces of paper that are diary entries behind you and how those are getting incorporated.
Yeah, this is all from Sueños, and I've been keeping a diary since I was 8 years old, and I have all of my diaries, which I still keep a journal. These are all actual entries from my journal that are in the show. And so these are just ones that I wrote down that were very important points of time in my life, and so they are scattered throughout the stage.
Are they incorporated into the script at all, or are they just written down and used kind of as props?
They're incorporated in this,
Oh, wow.
in the actual script. There's a lot of journal entries. There are journal entries that I actually write on stage, or that I read out loud, or to that event. So
Wow.
yeah, they're very important for the show.
And what's this puppet up here?
She's my little journal puppet. She actually comes out of the journal and is with me for parts of the show.
There's something special about this show in regards to the languages. Would you like to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, it's a bilingual show. And so it's my navigation with both languages. So I incorporate both languages into the show. And the show is really finding my own voice, finding my home, and realizing that that's me.
What was the residency like? What was that whole process like?
So the residency was really incredible in the way that I was able to focus and have this exhibit, and also have be able to show an excerpt of the piece. They gave me a studio space, which is an incredible resource because this is just a fraction of the show. You need so much space to devise. There's a lot of devising that goes into puppetry, and especially how I like to work, and other performers, and it's not in a vacuum. So you always need somebody else to kind of look at hey, can you look at this, or can we play and see what happens? I'm really into playing, especially when I'm directing a piece. Like, a lot of wonderful stuff comes out in play. So the residency allowed me to have the space.
Oh, that's wonderful.
To have the space and the resources, and also having an exhibit, which is the culmination of the residency, and being able to be at Art Space, and then having that final performance. So all those resources were really incredible.
Do you have a date or a timeline in general that you'd like for this show to come out?
So the premiere is set for next summer in New York. I don't have an exact date yet, but I should have some more specific date. It's also pandemic contingent, but it's set to premiere the full length of the show next summer in New York.
Oh, that's so exciting. What were some of your favorite ones that you've created, like different shows that you've done?
Calle Allende is one of my absolute favorites. That's my heart and soul on stage, apart from this. But I do love my marionette piece, which I've traveled with. That's a really fun piece. And I have a couple shadow pieces that I really love as well. But Calle Allende, full-length show, that's definitely my baby. I do like to incorporate different forms of puppetry. In Calle Allende, my collaborator and what I affectionately call my puppet wife, Katerina Miraslani, is her and I love to just have fun with all the objects, and we do mask work, and there's shadow puppetry and direct manipulation puppets and objects and all sorts of things in Calle Allende. So that one has everything pretty much.
So cool.
Except marionettes, which may change. I don't know.
Yeah. There's always time.
May change. I don't know. There's also all forms of puppetry in that one. It also makes it really exciting when there's different elements.
And breaks it up a little bit. How long have you been puppeteering for?
I started making puppets, seriously, okay, this is what I'm going to do, back in 2011.
Oh, so this is fairly recent. How many shows have you done since you started?
I can't answer that question. There's been a lot.
A lot of them.
There's been a lot. There's been, puppet slams, so many. I've traveled to Portland and Austin and all of Baltimore, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts. There's a lot. But I've also traveled and toured Calle Allende quite a bit. So New York, Baltimore. I mean, there's been a lot of shows. I couldn't even tell you. There's been a lot of shows.
What is a puppet slam?
Puppet slam is short form puppetry intended for adult audiences. So it's something that can be brand new that you're trying out in front of an audience, or something that's been really refined. So it's a mix of all forms of performances and puppeteers, and it's a really fun night. It's a really, really fun night. I host and curate the Pinned and Sewtured Puppet Slam in New Haven, and I've been doing that since 2013, and I'm hoping to be able to do that again in the short future. But
Where
we'll
in
see.
New Haven is it?
It has changed venues. I've done it at Cafe 9. I did a puppet cabaret at Art Space. Did it at Three Sheets. There's been different venues. Hoping to do it again. All pandemic contingent.
Yes.
But it's a really fun night.
Oh, that must
really
be
fun
so
night.
nice to like come together and see like other people in your community.
Oh, it's great. It's like 7 or 8 performers, and they're just all like short pieces, but we just have such a blast.
Oh, that's really
such a
fun.
blast.
Is
Yeah.
there a favorite kind of puppetry that you like?
Whatever I'm doing at that very moment is my favorite.
It's a good answer.
Like, I just get really excited. So whatever I'm doing at that moment is my absolute favorite.
You've also done some filmmaking with puppets. Have you been continuing doing that?
I do continue to do some stop motion and also some short puppet films. I haven't done as much as I've wanted to lately, between studios and just trying to figure out a spot for that. But yes, I have continued. I love doing little.
And do you
little
film
shorts.
them yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. And
Yeah.
edit them all like
Yep.
it's a one-woman show?
It's a one-woman show.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
do you post them on YouTube? and
I
stuff?
do, yeah.
Oh, that's
As soon
really
as I have something new, it's up there. Under my company name, Pinned and Sewtured, is the Sueños reel and the Calleyende reel and my other shorts and stop motion.
Thank you so much, Anatar, for joining us on this episode of Making It Artisan Stories. Thank you to all our viewers for watching. We'll see you on the next episode. If you'd like to see more of Anatar's work, information to contact her will be left in the end credits.